Hi, and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we got a 2004 Pontiac Grand Prix. We're going to be changing the front brakes on it. We are also going to be changing the rear brakes, but that'll be on another video. What we're going to do here is we're going to change the front brake rotors as well. And the reason we're going to do the rotors is because you'll see when I take you up front, there's a significant amount of rust on the back of the rotor, and when you have that much rust on there, to machine it, it doesn't really make any sense. So we're going to change the rotors. We're going to check the caliper slide pins to make sure everything slides the way it's supposed to, and we're going to make sure we lubricate everything up before we put it back together. So let me bring you up front. I'm going to show you what to do, and we're going to get through this step by step and wrap this job up. So let me bring you up front and show you what we're going to do. Okay, I just want to point this out too, is that the brakes on this are actually squeaking. You can see down underneath here, I'm going to show you. Right inside here, there's a piece in here, it's an indicator that's actually touching right into the rotor. When that indicator wears down to a certain point, that indicator touches the rotor and it gives you a squealing type noise. That's the noise this car is getting. And as far as why we can not machine it is because of the condition of these rotors. There's a significant amount of rust here, but there's even more so in the back of the rotor, back in there. You see the amount of rust back there is really not machinable. So what we're going to do is, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to come inside with a screwdriver or a pry bar or something like that, and we're going to pry the piston back into the bore to make sure that it slides the way it's supposed to and that the caliper is not binding up. So you just put the screwdriver in here and you just put a little bit of pressure on it. You don't have to kill it, just a little bit of constant pressure, and you'll notice that piston starting to push back in. See? And you push it in as far as you can go. If you just keep constant pressure, you see how it pushes all the way back in, and it recesses all the way into the bore as far as it can go. And we're going to just take this shoe and push this shoe back in there, and we're going to push it back the rest of the way, all the way in, and that's it as far as it goes. Alright, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to take out this bolt here as well as this bolt here. I believe they're 14 or 15 millimeter. We're going to break these loose. We're going to take this caliper off, and then we're going to come up underneath the bottom over here, and you see this bolt right here. We're going to take that bolt out, and if you look up top, you'll see the other bolt right up top right there. We're going to take that one out too, and we're going to take that mounting bracket off of the car. So let me grab a ratchet, and we're going to get started and take that apart. Okay, now remember what I said, it's just a 15 millimeter bolt in the back. We're just going to remove these two bolts. It can be fairly tight. Okay, now when you take these bolts out, I just want to point this out to you. The bolts are actually two different bolts. You see, one has got the little rubber washer on it. You have to make sure that goes back in the same hole it came out of. Well, now that came out of the top, so we're just going to put it back in the top for now, and we'll come back to that later. We're going to take our caliper off of here, and then we're going to take the caliper and we're going to hang it off to the side with the hanger. You're not going to leave it hanging by the hose. You're going to take the hanger and bring it up and out of the way like that, so it's not hanging on the hose itself. Next thing we're going to do is going to take out those bolts in the back that I showed you. They're 15 millimeter also. I'm going to move this light for a second. I like my flexible head ratchet because you can get into little tight spots with a little bit of angle on it. Don't lose these bolts. We're going to need to put this mounting bracket back on with it. So for now, we're just going to take the mounting bracket and we're just going to put it off to the side, and we'll come right back to this in a minute. And once you've done that, the rotor comes right off the car. And that's why I said about the back of the rotor. You see how it has all that rust inside there? This is really non-machinable, so there's really not much you can do with this except to discard it, and we'll grab a new one. All right, now one other thing I want to point out too is that inside here it's very important that before you put this back together, you have to clean this surface up right here. All that rust has to come off of there. Otherwise, if you put it on top of a rusty surface, the rotor is going to be cocked a little bit, and you're going to still wind up with a pulsating pedal. So we're going to clean this off right now, and I'm going to show you how I do it, and then you could do it yourself with a scraper, a razor blade, whatever. I use something like this here, and I can clean the whole thing off here. So I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to clean this up. Once I clean it up, I'm going to grab the rotor, and we're going to start putting it back together. So let me get that done, and I'll come right back. Now we got the new rotor, and before we put the rotor back on the car, you just clean off all that oil. They put a little bit of oily film on it so it doesn't rust. Make sure you clean that off before you put it back in. And you just use some brake cleaner, and it comes right off. Alright, and we take our rotor, and we just push the rotor right back onto the hub bearing that we actually cleaned up. So let me do that, and we'll continue. Now when you're working, you'll see that this moves around a lot on here. What I usually do is just take a lug nut, screw a lug nut on. It holds the rotor in place and it keeps it from moving around. So it makes it a little bit more stable for you so it doesn't bang around on you. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace the brake pads with the new ones. And you just take these brake pads here, and you just pull them right out like this. Okay, so we want to take a little bit of the brake grease that you'll see on most of my videos, you'll always see. Put a little bit of brake grease everywhere that the brake pad is going to touch. You put the brake grease on. All right. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your brake pad, and you remember this was the outer pad, so we're going to take the brake pad and we're going to take the brake pad and we're going to put it into the knuckle right here, and just slide it in place, and now with the grease you'll see it slides nice and easy. And then you take your inner brake pad, put your inner brake pad right in here like this. Then you can do this once it's on the car, but I always do it on here because it's a little bit easier on my hand than later on there. Right, we'll put this over the top like this. And we'll just hold it in place and take the 2 screws and you catch them both. Don't tighten it up yet. You're just going to catch them both and screw it in by hand as tight as you can by hand first. Once you have them screwed in by hand, you have both of them caught, and then you can tighten them up with the ratchet. And we can make them pretty tight. Tight. Okay. Now, if your pads are in place where you put them in before, it's okay. But if not, if you want to put these in after you put your mounting bracket on, you can put these in like this. You put them in there and you push them right in, they slide right in. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to lubricate those bolts. Remember these slide things right here that we had before? We only have you have them in the correct position because one has that rubber the seal on top, the other one doesn't. Put that in there like that. And the same thing here. Just going to grease on here like this. And we're going to take our caliper and lay our caliper back in. We're going to take this bolt out. Put the caliper over the top. Just push that little plastic or rubber seal out of the way. Put your caliper over the top. And you can catch your first pin up in the top like that. And then we'll take our bottom pin out. Same thing, just push that little rubber seal so that you can get your pin in there. Screw them in by hand first. And once you have them screwed in by hand, then you can tighten it up with your ratchet. Nice and tight. Same thing on the top. Tight. Okay. So let me recap exactly what we did here, so you know. Nice having gloves on. You take them off and your hands are nice and clean, right? Okay. So this is exactly what we did now. We mounted our rotor on our hub that we cleaned up so that there was no rust on it. We tightened up those 2 bolts to hold the mounting bracket onto the car. We put our brake pads in the knuckle. We lubricated everywhere that the brake pad is going to touch, and we have our bolts tight right here and here that hold the mounting, the caliper to the mounting bracket. And that's it. We're all set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go around to the other side, do the exact same thing on the other side, and we'll wrap this job up. All right. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments? Drop me a line. Be more than happy to talk to you about anything. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.